Previously on Flipped.
Sex is a prominent part of the culture.
9 months after Carnival, all these kids are born.
This is a resource that we want to give you so that you understand what God intended sex to be for.
Statistically, it doesn't seem like the U.S. has nearly as much of an issue.
I think it's actually higher in the U.S.
It's more well hidden.
Our kids are just as exposed.
Mardi Gras, Havasu during Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend.
Fraternities, sororities.
Whining here is very similar to things that go on in our high school dances, which is pretty much it's grinding.
Like our media and our ads go all around the world.
Just that everything we do in America has a global effect.
The choices that we make, there's a chain reaction that happens and it affects the next person and the next person all the way down to what we've seen, we've been surrounded by this week.
I think especially in America, we live with this idea that we're the center of the world.
Both cultures are very sexually promiscuous. I think a lot of our students struggle in that area. I think here it's a lot more public.
In talking to even like our peers or people that we know about what we've seen, I'm not so sure they would even get it, because I think in their minds they would be like, well, I would never get that far, like how could you compare me to that?
Just being around my friends, I mean, I know for a fact that sexual promiscuity is a huge thing.
Like how many others, justify what they're doing and they say, well, all hope is lost, so I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
It's kind of just okay. I mean, I think we've become apathetic to it in the U.S.
We've seen firsthand how the sin that we commit connects with the rest of the world.
Statistics show that the Caribbean is second highest rate of infection after sub-Saharan Africa.
The AIDS pandemic has killed a generation of parents. Over 18 million children have now been orphaned by AIDS and are left to fend for themselves.
These vulnerable children are left in poverty and exposed to abuse, human trafficking, drugs and alcohol, and corrupt governments, leaving little hope for life beyond survival. These same trends have spread to the home we visited today.
It is a home for kids with HIV. Some of them, their parents deserted them, and some, the parents brought them to live there because they can have proper care there.
Well, when people have leprosy in the Bible or had it, it was known that they couldn't touch them.
They think if they touch them then they'll be unclean, and everyone's so fearful of that, so they want to stay as far away from them as possible.
I think people think that the same with kids or people with HIV.
Society kind of shuns them out and kind of puts them in their own category of people.
While you're there, I think instantly after 5 minutes, the stigma of these are infected kids goes away, and you see that they're just children.
I think when we were first in there, I kind of already forgot that they had HIV because they just look like normal kids. And I remember when we were leaving, one of the girls came up to hug me, and I didn't think anything differently from it. I just gave her a hug.
Well, one of the girls, when I first got there, she just signaled for me to sit next to her, so I sat next to her most of the time, and she was just hugging me and touching my hair and putting her head on me. So I thought that really showed how much they just love that contact.
People are afraid to love them at times because of this the stigma of HIV, and yet here they are, just children in need of that physical touch, that need of love and just that fellowship with people.
These kids really need to be loved on, and in a way, like they're no different from others.
It was really tough when Melody asked them what they're afraid of, and all of them were like said that they were afraid of dying, and I just broke my heart because they're all like little kids. They're even younger than me, and they're already afraid of death.
So in America, HIV, when that's brought up, it's this, oh, hey, that used to be a problem.
Our generation loves a good cause, but social justice is like an ocean that never ends. There are issues of poverty, orphans, human trafficking, bad water, but the problems are all part of a deeper issue of a world corrupted by sin. Our generation is fickle, and we tend to bounce between what's the popular cause of the moment.
But you know, it's not really a big deal. Maybe it's a problem in Africa, but that's about it. I think that's the mentality of HIV in America and among American youth. Oh, if I wear a condom, I don't really have to worry about HIV. And these are misconceptions that are really destroying not just the youth of America, but they're literally killing youth of this world. A lot of kids that are your age and younger die every single day from a disease that can be prevented. Not through contraception, but through a resource like Reach for Life.
This right here is one Reach for Life book, and it costs just $3. And remember, this is not just a book, it's not just the New Testament, it's also a lesson plan. It also helps raise leaders. And so if you can just give $3, then you're changing one life.
Not even just one. They say this book reaches to 5 people for one book.
I mean, if you tell all of the people in your group to give up Starbucks for a day and donate $3, that can do plenty. It's crazy to me to think that that's all it takes, but I've been able to see the fruits of what one book can do in a life of someone who needs it. I feel like our generation, we talk and we stress social justice.
I think one thing we've noticed definitely in youth culture is this kind of rising up of social justice, and that's awesome, and it's wonderful, and we see that clearly in the scriptures. But again, what you see among the youth a lot of times is they want to rally around the cause, they want to take up arms, they want to raise support. You're rising up and you're taking these causes because they're popular, or because it's what your friends are doing, or because it's what youth in the nation are doing, or because maybe you're just passionate about it. But then you're turning around and you're living this sexually promiscuous lifestyle. You're sleeping with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or you just don't have any set boundaries, and you're going further than you should sexually. And there's this hypocrisy there, and it's this double lifestyle where you're saying, I want to end this injustice, but you yourself are doing the exact same thing right here in America.
Teenagers who are in the church are having sex at almost the same rate as teenagers who are outside of the church.
We've definitely settled for the world standards. It again brings it back to how we communicate with unbelievers. It changes the fact that we can no longer be an example, and we can no longer talk about that as wrong because we are doing it.
People who leave the church say that the church is full of hypocrites.
It's a huge contradiction if you're sitting at home and watching pornography, where a lot of times there are really young girls that are don't have a choice.
Don't pretend to care about orphans, about AIDS, or trying to stop human trafficking if you're out having sex with your boyfriend or girlfriend or watching pornography.
That's not social justice. That's injustice. That's hypocrisy.
It's true that it may not be intentional to be hypocritical in the Christian church, but the fact is that it's still present in the church.
I think we break God's heart. I mean, it's not like we shouldn't be giving money to different charities and organizations, but I think it's time that the decisions that we make match with what we claim to care about.
And I don't think Americans really get that. Like, they don't know that there are girls who are drugged and put in front of a camera to create pornography, and these like middle class, you know, fathers are sitting at home and looking at that kind of thing, and they have a daughter.
We're missing it. Like, I don't even think we understand like how big the little things actually are.
It's about walking hand in hand with orphans and teenagers all over the world. It's standing with vulnerable children and teenagers. And it only takes $3 to pay for a Reach for Life Bible that you can give them, and that's showing that you are standing with them. You can make a declaration about the change you're making in your life if you can contribute that $3.
In the Word, God makes it clear that it's better to obey than to sacrifice. I mean, God still wants us to sacrifice our time, our money, and sacrifice is great, but He would rather that we obey. So what we don't want from you is just to sacrifice your money for Reach for Life. What we want you to do is to obey, and for you to stand with the youth of the Caribbean, the youth of South Africa, and to stand with the cause to overcome this epidemic that's happening around the world.